Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in, and in this video we're going to talk about a very important topic. Taxes is one of those topics that you need to kind of educate yourself about, either if you're planning to move to the US, either if you live here as a student who is basically slowly transferring to become also a job holder or a worker here, and now they have to start paying taxes, or you're a green card holder or a citizen. Citizen is important. I'm going to emphasize on that. And you've been living here for a couple years in the US. However, unfortunately, due to the miscommunications and sometimes people just wanting to show off that they know everything, they lived here for a long time, therefore they are the main source that knows and has all the answers. So they just keep misguiding people, especially immigrants being one of those targets. And you just tune in to see what are the information you can get from this video. Regardless of which category you're in and you're watching this video, I hope that I do my best to take care of this topic in one episode. I'm pretty sure if we want to go deeper into every single category, we have to go to the second episode. Already my videos are so long, some of them are 20 minutes, but I do my best to give examples and be very wholesome in every episode or every video that I put out. And I apologize that my upload has gone from once a week to once a month or once every 5 weeks, because I started a new business, as I mentioned in 2 or 3 videos prior to this, and expanding that and working on it as a lonely individual, that lonely wolf. It takes a lot out of me and will leave me with less time to create these videos. Regardless, I'm not doing this for money. I'm not receiving a penny from these videos because I'm not monetized. But I just want to educate you guys because nobody taught me any of these factors, and I had to learn them myself by asking questions, look down, and finally learn them. And unfortunately, when it comes to this topic, there are a lot of citizens who migrated here decades ago, and they still get it wrong. They still don't know everything. And by everything, of course, we're not lawyers. We're not tax attorneys to know every little thing. I'm talking about the simple factors that average Americans needs to know because they've been taking care of their taxes for a long time. And again, I just hope that this video is a help for you guys to get a better understanding and do not get those misinformations from those people. Okay, let's get into it. So what are the taxes? Taxes usually is the concept. Oh, and before everything else, I'm not an expert. I'm not claiming to be one. I'm not affiliated with any organizations. I'm just basically putting this video out based on everything that I have learned, and I wish somebody taught me when I migrated to the US and that I didn't have to go through all these hoops to learn it. So again, you're not learning it from an expert. This is not a financial advice or anything like that. I'm simply just sharing with you guys what I've learned through living here for the past decade or more. Okay, so the taxes is usually the concept that we have to pay back something either from our purchases and something from our income that we earn in order to have a better society, which means the government then will decide where our tax money will go, either going to spend on weapons in order to defend the country, or it's going to go towards the roads and expanding the roads, basically or reviving the asphalt after a couple years and creating sidewalks or blah 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 blah. Or it can go to these regular maintenances, like for example the trash and the companies that take care of them, the PG&Es and companies like that, or those who take care of the city's plumbing, electricity, and all of that. Because as we know, there is something called inflation, which everything is going to get expensive every year. and so therefore these taxes need to pay for that, and they need to be adjusted as well. Okay, so that was the baseline kind of. I gave a very overall explanation about that, and the organizations that often review our taxes, American citizens, American green card holders, or whoever works here and has to pay their taxes, or owns a property and has to pay their taxes, is the IRS, as I'm sure you guys have heard about it a lot. Okay, so now let's go through the little schedule of this video. I know I should have mentioned it before. I just wanted for those of us who are less interested to kind of walk away from this video by that introduction, but those who are more serious kind of get this information now. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the due dates and the extension, and then we're going to talk about on the second category the type of taxes that we have that majority, that's a very important word, majority of Americans are filling every year. And then third, I'm going to talk about why a lot of Americans and those who have lived here in the US and now migrated to the Europe or went back to their countries when it comes to the subject of taxes believe that it's one of those ridiculous factors. We're going to talk about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it, because I think these are the important ones that you need to know, kind of. And the third category, why it's ridiculous, is going to have 3 subcategories with a lot of explanation, which I put it for the last. And hopefully, again, they become these tools that you guys can use in order to clear out or have a better understanding of this subject. All right, so what are the due dates? The due date is one due date that majority of Americans aim to fill out their taxes, and it's normally April 15th of every year. Yes, so we are right now in May, about a month ago. Or 15 to 20 days ago. So that's usually your due date. You have to take care of your taxes, and majority of Americans, they aim to fill out their taxes either in February or the month after in order to not hit the due date, because it's just Christmas. As much as we're getting closer to that deadline, we will see that people go insane, and the lines when it comes to, you know, dealing with the CPAs are often the accountants and those who are certified to do your taxes, get longer. Especially we will see that people are aiming for that extension, because yes, you can get an extension for any reasons. They have different reasons basically that you have to go with, and you want to submit your extension so you have more time. Okay, and again, it's just like Christmas, as I was saying, that when it gets to that due date, you will see that the lines will tremendously increase when it comes to the post office, because people are trying to send their document when it comes to the dealing with the CPAs and them wanting to do your taxes and all of that. Okay, so we talked about the extension and we talked about the due date. Okay, so why certain people want extension, and we're gonna get to that as we're approaching the second category, which is the type of taxes that people have to fill out. Okay, so when it comes to the type of taxes that people have to fill out, we often have 2 major categories. Again, major. Yes, there's more than that. There's more into this category, but I'm talking about like 99% of Americans, like 90%, 93%. Often lie in those 2 categories. They're either an employee, which means they're working for an employer, which means they're part of a company, and they're receiving a W-2. That basically gives all the information. How much was their growth, how much was their net, how much they paid in medical, how much they paid in Social Security, and all of that. Yes, these are also topics that we need to talk about, but I'm not going to approach them in this video. Okay, and then the second category, or the second subcategory within the second category, which is the type of people that do their taxes, are those who are business owners. They are business owners, they own their business. Either it can be a small dealership, it can be a small store, or it can be a larger corporations that they expanded, or it can be a franchisee that they bought and they've been active, such as 7-Eleven, such as a motel, such as, these different supermarkets. Okay, so in those cases, majority of them, they have a form called 1099. We had a W-2 for employees, now we have 1099, where in that they are basically mentioning their income, and now when it comes to their accountant, the CPA, that they have to submit these forms, they have to basically haggle with the amount that they have made. What do I mean is that they do their best to contribute the expenses that they had in order to subtract it from this amount, and then pay taxes on that extra that is left. So even though in majority of cases you want to pay your taxes based on the profit that you made, but they're gonna argue, even though I've made this much profit, but I had this much spending in my business, so it has to be subtracted from it. Okay, now the reason that majority of people aim for CPAs instead of going on the USA Tax website and do it themselves for $20 to $40, it comes down to what they own and how much they own. If you have a property, if you own a rental, if you own a business, as we just talked about, then you need someone that has that knowledge and can basically justify the deductions that you have, how much you're claiming was actually your income, and how much you are paying taxes on it. They need to be familiar with these different categories, with what is counted and what is not counted. Therefore, we have CPAs, accountants that are active in that field, but we also have lawyers. Yes, lawyers that are specifically in this field, in the tax field, that either they are basically working with more important individuals, those who can afford them, in order to do their taxes, because they want to use as much as the stuff that is available within the laws in order to reduce their income or reduce their profit, so they pay less taxes, or they are dealing with IRS, which we're going to talk about in the third category as part of the ridiculousness. They're dealing with the IRS and they have to defend themselves, or they have to justify their answers, or what they mentioned, this much profit or this much income, and pay taxes on it. Okay, so again, this is one of those things that, just like what I've mentioned previously with regards to the Social Security and Medi-Cal that is getting subtracted from your paychecks, this has its own category that you can go very deep. Again, I'm talking about, like, with regards to the properties that you own, if it's rental, if it's something that you own and lived in, which just requires its own video. All right, now let's move on to the third category, which is why it's so ridiculous, why you will hear from majority of people that they actually hate taxes, that they do not like it, that they do not feel it's fair, that they would rather lie. Yes, that was one of the first things that I've heard when I moved to the US. It was one of our relatives that was talking to another relative of mine in a gathering, and they were like, I lied as much as I can in order to cut my taxes. And in my head at the time, as somebody who just moved here and was living here for maybe 2 years, I was like, why do you want to lie? Like, taxes are good things. They're going to people. They're going to help bring up that category that needs them, especially as somebody who lived in low-income housing, who had these helps. I really valued them. But as I lived here more and more, I can see why people consider them as ridiculous and kind of hate them when it comes to certain situations, and do not see them as a justifiable amount that they have to pay. Okay, so let's talk about them. I basically divided this category to 3 subcategories, and we're going to go through them one by one. First of all, we want to talk about the property taxes that we kind of referred to in the previous category. Okay, again. And I think I also talked about it in the video where how much police hand is open in order to help you and how much of a case you have when it comes to talking about the cars. It's the same thing. When you own something in the US, it's either your cars or your houses or your house that you live in, you have to pay property taxes on it, okay? Okay, so what's wrong with it? Why you put it as a under the ridiculous category? It's a good thing. You own that, then you have to pay taxes. Well, let me tell you something. In majority of countries, you don't have to pay taxes on something that you bought, that you've purchased. You want to make the claim or argument that, oh yeah, but in America, majority of people use finances in order to own their home. So it's not like they had the money to purchase a home outright. They're paying for that mortgage every year. Cool. But after 30 years, it's done. So they own the home. Why should they still pay for their taxes? Okay? Now, some might come and make the concession here, or I, as an arguer or as a writer or as a speaker of this video, have to make a concession here because some of our taxes are going towards, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, toward the maintenance aspect of our living in the US or in that particular city or county, which is rising every year because of the inflation, such as taking care of our trash or this or that city needs to take care of. So it makes sense that you have to continuously pay taxes on your property, but then it increases too. Okay? Yeah, because we have inflation. If the cost of repairing things are going to increase, then your property taxes need to increase. Okay, but it can be doable or justifiable for those of us who are working, because if it's then too much, we can get a second job. We basically are going to get raises or promotions. So it makes sense. But how about that elderly citizen that now cannot work, that now do not have access to all these different options to increase their income? And as I mentioned in my previous videos, if they get backtracked on their taxes, now there are these people who are sitting on the sideline and they try to come and buy their taxes or the tax liens. And they're slowly going to lose their property. And at some point they're going to give up on it because they're like, I can't afford it. So this old guy, this elderly citizen at the age of 90, 80, they have to worry about their taxes going up when their income is often steady at that level that it used to be, or maybe it's going up by $70 to $90 a year as adjustment for inflation because of their social security or whatever they're receiving. How come that's fair? Because everything else is going up in value. It's not like their food is becoming cheaper. They have to pay more for it. So where the hell they're gonna get the money now that they're not working in order to make sure they can afford these taxes and keep their property, so they don't have to go and live with their kids or in a senior house? So you see, yeah, it sometimes doesn't make sense, especially when you put it next to those countries that they're outright say, hey, if you own your property, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Okay, that's one ridiculousness. Case number one. Case number two. Majority of people, especially in my generation, they're like, we've already paid a significant amount of taxes from our paycheck. And we didn't even tell you that we're volunteering to pay for it. The government already took it. Okay? And it's good to mention that we have federal taxes and state taxes. Yeah, two. That's why a lot of people want to live in Texas or Florida, because they often don't have to pay income earned taxes in those states. But regardless, let's get back to our topic. So they already took out the taxes from our paychecks. But later on, when I want to purchase this shirt, when I want to purchase this AirPod, when I want to purchase this razor that I'm gonna shave, they're gonna ask for taxes again on those items that I'm about to purchase. And on certain items, they have the audacity to ask more. How come that's fair? I already paid my taxes on these or my duty from my paycheck. Why should I pay taxes again on these items? You see, that's the second ridiculous part, that a lot of immigrants just refuse to purchase that nice clothes, that nice bag, that nice computer, and they just stay with it because when you do the calculation, it just adds up. Third category, we're hitting that 20 minutes mark. They're telling you to do your taxes. A lot of people cannot afford CPAs, accountants, or lawyers. So they're going to go and do their taxes either by these free organizations. Yes, there are organizations such as I'm not going to name actually any of them, but you can do your research and they will help you do your taxes for free. But now you're doing your taxes. You're not an expert. You don't know all the laws. The chances that the person that is helping you doesn't know all the laws is a lot too. But that's your only option, because you're making 50 to 60K and you can hire an attorney, or you can afford to hire an attorney or CPA, pay $200 to do your taxes. So you're going to move forward working with this person. Thank you to them and all the organizations that do help citizens. But now there's a part that you get wrong, either because of that individual that is giving you the advice or because you didn't know as a citizen that you need to report it. So the IRS is telling you to report your income, pay your taxes and all of that based on your understanding and the information that you have available, such as your W-2s or this or that. But then if you mess it up for any reasons, the IRS comes after you. They can audit you or they can put you in jail. They can fine you with interest based on all those years that because you didn't know, you didn't report something. Or they will ask you to do your taxes again and include this, which is going to cost you again or cost you money, because at the time this organization was available and was helping you to do your taxes, but now you have to go to a CPA or an accountant to take care of it. There's a lot more, again, in this category of ridiculousness, or every single one of them, if we want to go into detail, and they each deserve their own episode. But that's about it. That's where I'm going to stop. I hope you got the general information that you need to from this video. The sun is about to blind me. So until the next video, thank you very much, and hope you subscribe and like this video. Peace.